Hello, everyone. Ex Walk Hill Bethelite here. And every day at Bethel was proof that Jehovah's Witnesses did not have the truth. I remember going to the assembly and filling out my Bethel application. And there was also an interview that you have to have with a member of the Bethel family. Keep in mind that before this, there was a brother from Patterson that came to speak to all the brothers that wanted to apply for Bethel's service. And what he said was, if you're looking to go to Bethel to have fun with your friends, don't apply. If you're looking to go to Bethel because you want status, don't apply. This brother went down an entire list of things that will cause a person to want to apply for Bethel. And he sat there and said, if you want to go to Bethel for any of these reasons, do not apply. After his talk, they then got up and announced that Bethel would not be accepting applications from single sisters. So a bunch of sisters, they got up, they were upset. Some of them were crying and they left. And I stayed. I stayed there in that room because I wanted to go to Bethel because I thought Watchtower represented Jehovah God. And I felt I was disciplined enough to work whole soul there at Bethel. I stayed, regardless of anything that he said. I stayed, regardless of anybody that got up and left. The reason why I stayed, and from what I'm understanding, apparently I was next to sainthood, according to the standards of many today. The reason why I stayed and was so confident and ready for that interview is because I didn't care if the brother who interviewed me or even the application asked me about masturbation. I was not masturbating. I was, laugh if you want, I was not having any kind of relations with any women at that time. I was not masturbating. I wasn't drinking. I wasn't swearing. I wasn't watching rated R movies. I wasn't a violent person. So when I got up there and I sat in front of the brother and he asked me a whole list of questions, I could look him in the eyes and confidently say, no, I'm able to control myself. I haven't done any of the things that will prevent me from serving at Bethel. Do you know how good that felt? Whether or not I was able to go, whether or not I would have gotten accepted, but to pioneer for 2 years and be able to, at the end of that, say, yes, I have not done X, Y, and Z, and I'm ready for service. I'm ready for Bethel. I felt so good after leaving that meeting. And the funny thing is he's looking for the person that's interviewing me is asking me all these questions, kind of looking for imperfections, wanted me to be honest. And I was being honest. I hadn't done any of those things. And I remember saying, well, I do wear glasses. And the brother looked at me and laughed as if to say, that's it? That's all you do? Is you need glasses to correct your vision? You mean you don't have 9 baby mamas? Apparently, from what I'm understanding now, from speaking to other people, not having had a lot of scandals and things like that were put me next to godhood. There are probably popes that could not have sat in front of that brother and answered the way that I answered, and I can honestly say that is the truth today. I was ready for Bethel service. I go home, I go back to my daily routine, field service, and one day, my mother knocks on my door. I never checked the mail. I mean, I was busy working third shift and pioneering. If I was not studying for a meeting, preparing for field service, or at field service, or at a meeting, I was asleep getting ready for work for third shift. That's it. I'm telling you, that's it. I remember a brother in my service group was talking about how everyone sinned. And I wasn't trying to be haughty. I wasn't trying to puff myself up. I was telling him the truth when I told him, I don't think I've sinned this week. And my JW brain dead mindset, my cult mindset, I don't think I've sinned this week. I don't think I've done anything wrong. The reason why I was telling them that, which he got offended. He got upset. Everyone sinned. Everyone done something wrong. You've sinned just by being here and breathing and not being perfect. But in my mind, I'm sitting here thinking, I don't do anything but study, prepare for meetings. When I go to the meeting, I'm super busy. Y'all are giving me all these assignments. And when I'm not doing that, I'm either at work or asleep. So having self-control is something that apparently I had that a lot of people did not. And I think that was one of the reasons why I got into Bethel. Think about it. If you ain't got nobody else that can control themselves, and here Marcus ain't doing nothing wrong, but going to meetings and studying, and he's always here and always available and always doing assignments, of course, send him to Bethel. Recommend him for Bethel service. I never throughout my life thought that I was doing anything that everybody couldn't do. But as I grow and mature, I understand that there are a lot of people that can't control themselves. There are a lot of people that I didn't have a wife and I wasn't even masturbating. There are people who have a wife and still can't control themselves. So that is the reason why, to this day, I think I got into Bethel. Is because it's not that easy for them to find people that don't have something in their background, some kind of issue, some kind of problem. They're not really that mature. They're young, but and they don't really even, take it seriously. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of that at Bethel. So I don't really open the mail, don't do nothing but field service, in meetings, and my mom comes to my door, knocks on the door, and she's teary-eyed, kind of crying, and she's standing there with a letter, and I'm looking at her like, what is, you know what I mean? What's wrong? And she pulls out the letter and she says, you got a letter from Bethel. And I'm like, I'm just silent. I'm silent because I wanted to apply, but, Bethel seems so lofty. I never really, really, honestly expected to go. I thought it was my duty to apply, but I never expected to go. So when she pulls out the letter and says, do you want to read it or do you want me to read it? And I was laying down in bed, getting ready to go to sleep, get ready for work. And I said, you go ahead and read it, because I still wasn't expecting anything. And then when she read and said that your application for Bethel service has been accepted, and she's crying and things like that. And I'm just like, I'm going to Bethel. You got to understand that to Jehovah's Witnesses, that's the pinnacle. You don't get no higher than that. You don't do anything that's better than that. So as a young Jehovah's Witness, I'm listening to my mother read a letter telling me, you've reached the pinnacle. You're there. You are accepted. You are a Bethelite. I kid you not. I was not a haughty person. I wasn't going around telling everybody that I was going to Bethel. I told my field service overseer, because me and him, we would go out in field service all the time. And he guessed it himself. He looked at me and was like, did you get accepted, brother? And I was like, yeah. And he gave me a hug, and there was a gathering, so to speak, and so on and so forth. And what you got to understand is it's downhill from there. Because me and my mother get in the car and we get ready to drive to Bethel. I lived in Dayton, Ohio, and Bethel, it was 9+ hours away, and no one called us, no one checked on us, no one checked to see if we were okay. Okay, that's fine, no big deal. So we drove 9+ hours to New York, where we had never driven there before. No one checked on us, no one called. We get there, and we get there early. And then at that point, now we got to figure out food and things like that, right? So, I'm on cloud 9. So my mother gets on the phone, makes some calls, and there are some brothers there at Bethel that says, hey, we've got some seats available. Come and eat with us. So we go and we eat there at Bethel. And for the most part, once you get to Bethel, you got to understand that you're on your own. You're thinking that you're going to get there and there's going to be somebody there and they're going to basically be your tour guide while you get ready for Bethel service. No, there isn't. You may think that letter that you get from Bethel has got all this information on what you need to bring, and it just says to bring what makes you comfortable, but what you need to bring and what you shouldn't bring, and all this information that would help you so you can get ready to go all the way down there. It doesn't. We got down there not knowing anything. I didn't bring towels, believe it or not. I didn't bring towels and things like that because I figured I could get it at Bethel. We get there, we have to make arrangements to be able to eat with someone. I finally get to my room, And my mom is with me while I'm going to my room for the first time. And the housekeeper's there. Because the time I'm going to my room, everybody else is at work. The housekeeper's there. And I talked to her for a little while, and I'm still starstruck, and I'm asking her, so where's the towels? Like, where do I get towels, and where do I get this, and where? And she just looks at me like I'm crazy. And she says, we don't supply towels here. Like, how dare you ask that? Like, why would you ask that? And I'm like, well, because I have this letter here and it didn't tell me what to bring. Nobody called, nobody contacted me. I didn't know what to bring and what not to bring and what I needed. So the only thing I had with me is what I had with me. So, it wasn't the most organized way of having someone move clear from another state all the way over to Bethel. And you could look at that as a bad experience, because it wasn't just towels that I didn't have. There was a lot of things I didn't have. And it was just, you're on your own. Here's your room. You're on your own. You know what I mean? You got this packet. You get a packet once you get to Bethel that tells you where to be and when to be there for meetings and things like that. But no, nobody thought to tell you, what you did and didn't need to bring to Bethel on that long trip there from Dayton, Ohio. So I had to deal with that. And then I saw a lot of people at Bethel that were stars to me. You got to understand that these are people that I saw on the theocratic videos. And the theocratic videos were so important to me because part of the reason, why I hadn't gotten involved with immorality, masturbation, having girlfriends and cheating on those girlfriends. I heard about people using prostitutes, all kinds of stuff. One of the reasons why I had done those things were just self-discipline. A lot of what I watched on TV was just theocratic videos. Yeah, I was that cheesy Jehovah's Witness, where the only thing I'm watching on TV wasn't a show broadcast on TV for everybody's entertainment. I would be out field service, come back from field service, go into my room, and put in a theocratic video. Watch the theocratic video, fall asleep, and then get up, and it's time for me to go to work. And then after work, I'm getting ready for field service all over again. That was it. It was regimented. I was already regimented. So Bethel to me sounds like the perfect fit. I'm at Bethel. I'm seeing people that I saw on the theocratic videos that I was watching. The videos that Watchtower puts out, I'm seeing these people. There was one guy that had to get irritated because I'm staring at him. I'm at my table, and one of my favorite actors from a theocratic video is sitting right there. I remember, I like Thai bars, and he had a Thai bar. And I'm sitting there thinking, I'm going to go up to that guy. I'm going to go up to him, and I'm going to tell him, I like your Thai bar. I'm going to build up the courage to go up and talk to somebody that, to me, was like Denzel Washington. He played in a movie that I liked, a theocratic one. And eventually, I was able to speak to him, because when you first get to Bethel, there's a lot of things you got to get done, a lot of paperwork. You move to a new city. there's a lot of things you just got to get done. So we got on a bus to be able to go and I think have some things done at the Department of Motor Vehicles or something to that effect there in New York. And he was on that bus. And I remember going up to him and talking to him and saying hello. And he had the worst attitude in the world. You know, I don't want to say he was a bad person or anything like that. But I guess on the day that I went up and spoke to him, he had a bad attitude and was saying, well, hey, this is just Bethel. You know, a lot of people had that attitude. This is just Bethel. Bethel is not all that. Matter of fact, it's a pain in the rear type of a thing. And I'm just like, I'm shocked. I'm shocked. I'm a fresh, brand new Bethelite. And here, a freaking movie star to me in general conversation is talking about Bethel like it's a hassle. And I think he picked up on that. I think he eventually picked up on it. Like, that dude's new. And what I just said shocked him. You know what I mean? Because the next day or a few days later, he came over to me to say hello. I had gone to get my bedroll, you know, where I slept. Another thing, you know, why not have accommodations a little bit more comfortable? Why are people sleeping on a bedroll on the floor in God's organization? So yeah, I went and got my bedroll to put on the floor, and he saw me with the bedroll, and you know, I guess I had came up to him and said, hey, nice tie bar and all this other stuff. So he comes up to me and says, nice bedroll. He's a good actor. He's a good actor. He said nice bedroll, and just as good an acting role as he did in the theocratic videos, because there wasn't nothing nice about a rolled up piece of foam to put on the floor and sleep on. So yeah, I'm you know, this is God's organization. Didn't tell me nothing to bring. Give me a piece of foam to lay on the floor to sleep on. You know, getting ready to dedicate my life, and you know, well, here's your piece of foam. Go lay on that. So I'm getting ready to, you know, put that in my closet. And you guys, I probably told you about this, but I'm at my morning worship table. This is another thing that happened. I'm at my morning worship table, and most of the people at my morning worship table are married. There were a few of us single guys, but most of the people at my morning worship table were married. There was my table head sitting at the head of the table. There was another brother sitting, I guess if that's the head, and at the foot of the table, and his wife was sitting right next to me. And then there was another single brother. And then there was another brother sitting, you know, across from me, and his wife sat directly across from me also. So his wife is directly across from me. He's like right next to her. I've told you this before, but this, I'm feeling something rubbing on my leg. I don't have to tell you that Bethelites get their pick of pretty much any woman in the organization. I mean, you know, if you're a Bethelite, obviously you're going to get your pick over other people. So most of the women there were very attractive. And I know this for a fact because I worked at a truck dock, and there were truckers who were not Jehovah's Witnesses that came to drop stuff off and would come up and talk to us and say, what is this? Is this some kind of school? What is this place? What's all these beautiful women you guys got here? What is this? I kid you not, they would. Because we had women who were Native American. Have you seen a Native American? We had women who were Native American. We had women who are every nationality. All of them, for the most part, extremely attractive. And I have one of them rubbing her leg up against rubbing her foot all up and down my leg. And then she starts to get aggressive. Aggressive in the sense that I'm going to start rubbing my foot up and down your leg and looking at you while I do it. And I'm going to rub it up and down fast to the point where I know you know that I'm doing it. The first couple times I felt something, I thought somebody was just kicking me. And I'm like, what is this? And eventually it started to get up and down all over my leg. She's rubbing her toes all over my leg and looking at me while she's doing it. I'm like, dude, your husband is right there. Y'all are shoulder to freaking shoulder, crying out loud. Your husband is right there and you are looking at me and rubbing your leg up and down my leg like you're masturbating. Like you're masturbating right there at the morning worship table, rubbing your legs all over me under the tablecloth and looking at me with eyes like you're having sex or something, like these intense eyes, like I'm looking at you, I'm doing this and I do not care who knows type of a thing. And I'm just sitting here and eventually we lock eyes and I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I can't tell you, all I can tell you is after morning worship, I'm still kind of shocked. So I'm still sitting in my seat while everybody else is getting up. She got up and right on her skirt was this wet spot where it was damp to the point where you could notice is this big wet spot. To this day, I think this woman masturbated, rubbing her legs all up against me at morning worship. This was not a good experience. And keep in mind, I had to see her every morning for morning worship. I had to see her walking through the halls. And I never tried anything. I had an opportunity because we had different lunches. So you have your main lunch, but if your job requires you to stay late or come in early, there was an adjusted lunch. Most people liked the adjusted lunch because there was a smaller group of people and you didn't have to worry about running out of food, which was another negative thing about Bethel. That's like, okay, this is God's organization and y'all ain't got no more chicken? Y'all ain't got no more chicken? That ain't keeping it real? That ain't representing? So I go to, this is way after, I go to an adjusted lunch. I'm looking forward to this because adjusted lunch is normally just one or two tables and you got all this food just to these two tables. I go to adjusted lunch and guess who comes and sits right next to me? The woman who was rubbing her legs all up and down mine. And if she was not mad, I can't say that I saw what was going on underneath the tablecloth. But if she was not masturbating under that tablecloth, she was soaking wet. She was soaking wet when she stood up. So whatever in the world she was doing, that was the case. That's why I think she was masturbating. The person that did all that sat right next to me. Now, you ladies, you guys explain to me why she would sit right next to me at adjusted lunch. And I'm sitting here and I got to eat next to this person that just freaking violated me. I had enough self-control to say that's somebody else's wife. You know what I mean? I'm not going to go there. I could have talked to her. She was right there. We didn't have that many people at the table. It felt like the devil set this up for me, is what it felt like, for her to be sitting right next to me. Her husband wasn't there. And there ain't that many people here at the table, and we could kind of talk about what we want to talk about. And she's eating and then kind of looking at me like, yeah, go ahead and talk. I didn't say anything. But all these things every day at Bethel was proof Bethel was not God's organization. We'll talk more about my experiences at Bethel. For now, X-Wall Kill Bethelite signing out.